Tonight, on A Week in League, we'll be taking a deep dive into the LPL and the LCK. We'll be talking TSM roster moves, Ninja and Mr. Beast event, Dom 1 Kia Canyon, Team Ambition members fired for boosting, and so much more right after the intro. Welcome to A Week in League, where we cover League of Legends esports around the globe from all 4 major regions. I'm your host Slomar, and let's just get right into the news. As usual, timestamps and links will be in the description, and while you're down there, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks. As you may know, there's been no LCS or LEC this week. However, there's been no shortage of news. More on that in our segment in other news. This week, we'll be taking a look at some of the storylines from the LPL and the LCK, as well as doing our normal coverage. We kinda touched on this a bit last week, and the storyline continues. FPX goes for another 2-0 week, the team is now on a 4-series win streak, and Summit is technically undefeated in the LPL. Just a couple weeks ago, FPX was in the bottom 5 teams in the LPL. And while they're not top 5 or anything, this is still quite an achievement. Let's talk about V5, and this week marks the return of Rookie. Yes, Rookie is back, and he's never looked better. He managed to pick up Player of the Game awards in his first 2 games back. The LPL is just not the same without Rookie. Dream, the substitute mid laner for V5, has moved back down to the LPL Academy and has even picked up Player of the Game award on his first game back. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a Dream side tangent here, but I hope we see this guy on the LPL stage next year. He's shown that he can play with the big dogs, and he can certainly compete for an LPL spot in the top 5 of the league. Anyways, V5 is still undefeated in the LPL, and they're 8-0 at the time of this recording. TES is still holding their own at the top of the standings, with Wayward, Knight, and TN all having impressive splits so far. It even looks like Jackie Love has cleaned up his game and has stopped a lot of the random mispositions that he was known for in the past. JDG has only lost to FPX this split. In my opinion, the team just works better than the sum of their parts. Sure, Kanavi and Hope might put on carry performances every now and then, but I'm not fully convinced. My favorite thing about this team is the memes about their top laner, 369, and how the fans call him a 3-sided die, how he could only be a 3, a 6, or a 9. I gotta give it to the LPL fans, they always come up with better memes. I wish the LCS had memes like that. RNG or MSI champions have only lost to TES and V5 so far this split. However, things are looking a little rocky with their new top laner. It looks like the team hasn't quite gelled yet. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see how this team performs in playoffs. I would love to see them back on the world stage this year, but you know how it goes when you win MSI, right? There are certainly more storylines and interesting teams in the LPL. I personally think that the LPL is one of the best leagues to watch right now. Here's a clip from I Will Dominate's stream explaining why he also thinks the LPL is the best region to watch right now.
V5 went from a meme team to an elite team in less than a year because the bottom LPL teams actually care, man. Like, you don't see that many teams just holding on to a spot. Like, even the teams that obviously don't have the budget of the top teams in LPL, they still try to get players on it that are going to alter the team. Like, who would you consider the bottom feeders of LPL for like a long time now? Like, a lot of the teams that are at the bottom right now, you got to remember, these teams were like good as a year or 2 years ago. So like IG, right? IG 2 years ago was, you know, they were like 14-2 in summer. You know, they were the best team in regular season. Like WE almost made Worlds last year. They were 5th last year. LGD made Worlds 2 years ago. Like, these teams have not been at the bottom for a while. And teams like Anyone's Legend, you can see the improvement of this team. You can see them investing in young talent and actually like building something from the bottom up. TT is one of the obvious ones, but I mean, TT, they got UCal, they got Zhao Zheng and Hoya, they got Beichuan from FPX. Like, they're trying to level up. So this is the reason why I watch this region and why I care about the region, because it feels like the region actually cares about itself. You know, it feels like the teams actively try to improve split to split, and you can tell just based off like roster swaps and things like that. If somebody's playing bad in LPL, they get benched almost instantly. You know, like, there'll always be somebody coming to replace them.
Now, I definitely have an NA bias, but the LPL is my second favorite league, so And with that out of the way, let's get back into our regular programming. Here's what happened last week in the LPL. FPX goes 2-0 against LGD, and LNG, Rookie, is back, and he picks up 2 wins last week against RA and EDG. He even picks up Player of the Week for his first week back in the LPL. V5's bot lane was also on the Best of the Week list, and Clid is killing it with some of these stats. Also finds himself on the Best of Week 5 list. OMG's Shanji has been having an impressive split so far, picking up a spot on the Best of Week 5 as well as the Rookie of the Week for the 2nd week in a row. OMG is currently sitting in 9th place, but we'll have to see if they can make it into playoffs. Time for Game of the Week! And this week, it was an easy pick, and that is Rookie's 2nd series back in the LPL, V5 versus EDG. The Taliyah gameplay on display by Rookie is just out of this world, man. Some of the ulti usages in this game are the best I've seen by far. If you want to watch Rookie style on the LPL, or just want to watch some quality Taliyah gameplay, this is a series for you. And that leads us right into the standings. So we kind of touched on most teams in the top 10 and their placement, so I won't go into too much detail. Let's just move on to our next segment. Let's talk about some interesting storylines from the LCK, and we'll start off by talking about Live Sandbox. They are definitely the new kids on the block, with mostly unproven / rookie players on the roster. The team has only lost to Dom1 Kia and T1 so far, and is currently 6-2 in the league. The team will face Gen G next week, and this will be a true test to see if they can break into the top of the standings of the LPL, but I suspect they'll lose. Live's Sandbox AD carry Prince and jungler Kurako have been having an impressive split so far, and if these guys can make it to Worlds, I'm excited to see what they can do on a world stage. T1, the MSI finalists. T1 has only lost 1 game so far in the split. However, I think the team looked kinda off in the first 2 weeks until they got their first loss from KDF. I mean, some of those week 1 and 2 drafts are just questionable in my opinion, but things have gotten a lot better since. T1 handed Gen G their first loss last week, but we'll have to see if T1 can continue their LCK domination and win another title this year. Generation Gaming. Gen G has been having an impressive split so far, dominating the top of the standings in the LCK. The team has only dropped 3 games and 1 series. Peanut has been having a great split, and he's probably the reason behind the Poppy priority that's been popping up in the LCK and the LPL. Expect more Poppy picks next week in the LEC and the LCS as well. Good to see that this guy is still innovating on stage. Gen G has often disappointed their fans when it came to international performances. We'll have to wait and see if things are going to be any different this year. And the last team I want to talk about tonight in the LCK is DRX. I'm personally a big Deft fan. I remember watching him back in the old All-Star events and back in Worlds in 2014 and 2015. I'm kind of sad he's retiring at the end of the year, so I'm hoping the team can make it to Worlds. Some of you may not know this, but Deft has been around since 2013, at least according to Leaguepedia, and while he's had some domestic success, he's never really had much international success. He's one of the last old school players still around in the LCK. I hope they make a deep playoffs run and make it to Worlds this year. I'd be very excited to see Deft against international competition. Time for Game of the Week. And this week, it's DRX versus Dom1 Kia. DRX showed some impressive strategies like the level 2 on Lucian Nami, or just some of the ward placements throughout the series. The series was a nail-biting back and forth, definitely worth a watch in my book. Let's take a look at the LCK standings, and things are shaping up in the LCK with a very top-heavy league. We have Gen G, T1, Live Sandbox, Dom1 Kia, and DRX cementing themselves in the top 5 of the LCK. It's hard to see any of the other 5 teams make it into the top 5, especially since we're halfway through the season, but only time will tell. And like I said earlier, we'll be skipping the LEC and the LCS segments and heading right into Welcome to another news, where we discuss other news that may or may not be relevant to the scene. This week's headline: What? Reginald? Doublelift? This just in. If you're wondering why I'm in a different outfit, that's because the news came in as I was editing this video. This is major news and I couldn't just not include it in this week's episode. Unfortunately, that means that this week's episode comes out one day late. Anyways, let's get back into our headline. If you don't know about what's going on at TSM, we've covered some of this back in episode 1. TSM has been under investigation by 2 entities, Riot Games and a third-party lawyer that was hired by TSM. The TSM investigation has concluded, and we've covered that in the first episode. They found no issues with TSM Reginald's behavior towards the players or staff members. You can watch our coverage if you go back to the first episode. If you do, please excuse the quality, or maybe that'll make you appreciate how far we've come. Riot has concluded their investigation, and they believe that there is a pattern of bullying behavior exhibited by TSM Reginald. TSM has been fined $75,000, and TSM Reginald must now complete a sensitivity training. Reginald will also be on probation for the next 2 years. If you want to read more, link to the competitive ruling post will be in the description. This isn't the only hammer Riot is laying down this week. Riot has suspended Doublelift from co-streaming after making some remarks on his stream and saying that the LCS viewership is dying. Apparently, there's a strike system in place between Riot and the co-streamers, and I guess that was one too many strikes for Doublelift. Doublelift talks about this in detail on his stream, and the link can be found below. Now, take it away past Slomar. TSM makes major roster moves heading into week 4 of the LCS. The LCS starting lineup is now Soul, Spica, Maple, Instinct, and Chime. TSM will also be acquiring Solo, however, he will be on the Academy roster with Anda, Takeover, Tactical, and Mia. The whole situation is very strange in my opinion, basically nuking the roster 3 weeks into the split, and while I understand we don't know what's happening behind closed doors or behind the scenes, maybe they were destined to fail and this was the only move, but the moves also seem questionable. Like, why isn't Solo on the LCS roster? I have so many questions, but we'll see. I guess now we know why TSM Legends has moved into a monthly release. The new roster moves were announced shortly after TSM announced that Huni will be stepping down due to health issues. Now, it has been rumored that Huni has had wrist issues for a long time now, and it is suspected that that is the reason he's stepped down. Sad to see such a great player step down, but I guess he's not retired. Maybe we'll see him again one day, who knows. In other news, we talked about the Mr. Beast vs Ninja event a few weeks ago, and well, the event happened this weekend, and it was a little rough around the edges, but the creators carried the whole thing in my opinion. Overall though, the event was entertaining, but it felt like a low budget Rift Rivals, if you know what I mean. However, our story tonight isn't quite about the event itself. According to Doublelift, Bjergsen was supposed to participate and be a part of this event, however, Riot and the LCS blocked it. And I understand that this technically goes against the global franchising rules or whatever, but it would have been cool to see a Bjergsen versus Doublelift event. With the viewership being down a little, why not make an exception? It's a week off. More info below. DRX Canyon has achieved the highest LP ever in Korean solo queue. What an achievement. More information below. In other news, player and coach from Team Ambition have been fired for boosting after being exposed by streamer Tyler1. More info below. Faker becomes the only player in history with 500 LCK wins. I don't even know what to say to that. Here's a funny story. A Korean streamer got Q-sniped in solo queue and was held hostage for 3 hours in a ranked game. I know we can all relate to being held hostage in a ranked game, am I right? But 3 hours? Woo! In other news, the creators of the show Players were on Hotline League this week, and they also had a Reddit AMA. If you've been living under a rock, Players is a Paramount Plus show that is a mockumentary about the LCS. If you're at all a League Esports fan, or hell, just an esports fan, this is a great watch. I highly recommend it. And please, do not pirate this. We want season 2. If you live in the United States, you can use code PLAYERS for a free month. I'm not affiliated with Paramount Plus, I'm just trying to help you guys out. If you sign up now, you can binge the whole series within your 1-month trial. On a side note, where's the Fugitive merch? I want to buy a Fugitive jersey. Come on guys, make it happen please. Our last story for the night, Arcane, the Riot Games animated show that is on Netflix, has been nominated for 2 Emmy Awards. We'll check back in September when the Emmys take place and see if they won either categories. And that is the end of our show for this week. I just want to thank you for all the support. If you enjoyed the show, please like, comment, and consider subscribing. Tune in next week for a new episode of A Week in League where we'll be covering all the 4 major regions. Have a good night and good luck in solo queue.